We have very packed agenda, so we should get it started. My name is Atam Dhawan. I'm Senior Vice Provost for Research and also the Executive Director and founder of the Undergraduate Research and Innovation Program. I'm also the Executive Director of the NSF-funded Center for Translational Research. You are going to see some of these titles interact to build the foundation of this particular event in a minute. But first of all, let me take this opportunity to welcome, our board members, and I'm so grateful for their continued support since 2012, that when this particular program started with only about 8 students and about $12,000, dollars funding, and now we spent more than 1.2 million in a year last year, fiscal year 2025, and we engage about 400 undergraduate students through different programs during the academic years as well as the summer. So it's a great experience for undergraduate students to get to know how a research is conducted and how a query to follow through the research methodology can be turned into a value proposition-based innovation. So there's one thing to conduct the research and get the research outcome, which is basically the answer to the question that you are asking to start the research. But once you get particular answer, and if it can be used, that particular knowledge that you created through the research, if it can be used to address an unmet need in the market by creating a technology prototype or the product or any particular translational pathway that leads to solve the problem in the real world application to benefit the society, then it becomes innovation, right? So I think all of the student industry are go to the higher education, and through that particular higher education further, the graduate level, PhD level, you're gonna either end up doing the research, and if you're gonna end up in the research like me in academia, then you also have to see the research turning into the innovation, solving the problems of the high societal impact and the economic growth. Or if you are going to be employed at a company, you are an asset to the company. And the companies die if they do not innovate regularly. So, it's the same thing that for the industrial growth and competitiveness, it is very important that they keep innovating the next product line. Your smartphone today is not the same that was used by your parents 10 years ago. And it's not gonna be the same, 10 years from now. So,
not used by your parents 20 years ago.
yeah. So it is very important to keep the innovation wheel going, because we have so many problems in the society, in healthcare, in environment, sustainability, in infrastructure, in cyber infrastructure, data intelligence, and the cyber security, for example, that we need to solve to move forward. If we don't solve, for example, 50 years ago in my era, we used to have Britannica, remember that, as the encyclopedia. And we used to go to the library in order to, get the information, beyond the textbook, right? And it's very important, sometimes they also sold with the discount, but having like 10 volume of Britannica, that was like 1,000 of, 25, so Brian keeps me correcting because I never had the money to buy it anyway. So, and then came internet and came Wikipedia, and now you have the ChatGPT, right? And ChatGPT, you can ask the question and it will look into all kind of databases and give you the answer. So you see that the information retrieval, whether you are asking the question to find an answer at your laptop or a smartphone, and whether you are at home or your office or lab or even walking on the street, though I don't recommend that, but you know that, and social networking and everything. These are all the outcome of the innovation. If any time the innovation stops, you have a standstill society, and the society cannot afford that. It needs growth. It needs to find the solution for the next problem. And now, everybody is so tied up with the data analytics, and data is like exploding in every particular application, whether they are defense related or manufacturing, or even you want to find out which is the best toothbrush. You need to be given an answer based on the data. I keep looking into okay, today, am I going to buy the McDonald's hamburger or Chick-fil-A? And I look into the data, what is the calorie, what is the carbohydrate? I ask the ChatGPT and it gives me the comparison over there. You see that these small things, they are no longer small. They are based on the foundation of the knowledge that has been created and the data. So who keeps the wheel of the innovation moving? You. Right? You are our future leaders. You are our future innovators. But at the time that you are at the school and getting your degree requirement and learning how to solve a triple integral mathematical differential equation, you need to know that how to innovate and how to, in that process of creating the innovation, how to use that fundamental theoretical knowledge to use and find a solution that is scalable, that is cost-effective, and that can be applied and used by the user group, right? So we came through the era, and specifically your parents, that you needed every piece that you buy a manual, how to use it. Today, you don't want to have any manual, and you don't need it, because that intuitive interface that when you buy a new iPhone, you just put it on, and the data shows that even a 5 years old, you give them a smartphone, in about 20 minutes, he or she will figure it out to play with it, right? That's kind of intuition and the innovation combined solves the problem and keep the society moving forward with the economical impact. So you have that responsibility on your shoulders. But this URI programs gives you an opportunity to think that way, think out of the box, think out of the classroom. And I appreciate your taking this opportunity, adapting it to learn that particular skill set, how to innovate, how to communicate, how to find an innovative solution to unmet problem, and how to create a pathway towards entrepreneurship and commercialization. Today's generation is not that much glued to having a 9-to-5 job. You can't pay attention for 2 hours in the classroom. How would you just tied up with 9-to-5 job? So every generation, every next generation is more entrepreneurial and higher risk taker. So we as educators have to keep up with that, have to provide you a learning experience that you can be engaged and you can learn the skill set to become the future leaders of the society. That's what URI program does. So we started, in addition to the URI student seed grants, where we give you the opportunity to work with your advisor, think about a problem of high societal impact, and then create a research pathway to see that if you can find an innovative solution and turn that particular research into innovation. We also provide you, the funding to do that in terms of the phase 1 and the phase 2 seed grant. Phase 1 is ideation validation for $500, and phase 2 is $3,000 for doing the research and also developing a prototype or validating your solution. In addition, in the summer, we give you $5,000 stipend to conduct the research during the 10 weeks program, and then present your research and innovation outcomes to this particular board on the 2 days long symposium of URI Research and Innovation Symposium, basically at the end of the summer period in the last week of July. And you compete for Dr. James Stevenson Innovation Awards. The first prize is $1,000, the second prize is $750, the third prize is $500. It comes with a very heavy crystal trophy as well. Why we are doing this is not only to encourage and inspire you to think innovatively, create innovation, think about taking a leadership role with the communication skills, because wherever you're going to go tomorrow, you will have to present your innovation idea and defend it, because otherwise there is no free resources out over there. So you have to define your job, and you have to define the value as an asset as being employed wherever you are going to do. So these platforms give you that particular opportunity. So we created 2 different programs to support that. In addition to the URI, we created some recognition program. The first one is that we are the designated chapter of the National Academy of Inventors, and based on the performance of the summer research symposium presentation, the board scores each presentation on the scientific value, the innovation, as well as its potential impact. And based on those, we select about 25 to 30 students, the top scorer, in addition to the Dr. James Stevenson Innovation Award winners, to be inducted into the National Academy of Inventor student chapter at NJIT. It is called Student Innovator and Inventor Club, SI2C. So those who are selected based on the summer research program of 2025 are going to receive this particular certificate today. You will be inducted as a student member to the National Academy of Inventors, which is a great honor, and it has access to the student network, and you can also participate in the annual conference, student competition, with this designation. So you are going to receive that today. With the NSF Accelerating Research Translation Program, funded by the Division of the Technology Innovation and Partnership Directorate of the National Science Foundation, we received a national award of accelerating research translation. It's called, it's not a grant, it's called a cooperative agreement to establish this Center for Translational Research. And through this particular center, we are inducting several of the students today into the art program student network. It's called Artisan. Accelerating Research Translation Integrated Student Ambassador Network. This is the National Science Foundation program that all the 17 centers at this particular time at the nation participate, and we are very pleased and happy to induct those 30 students with this particular certificate to this national network. 5 of those top awardees are going to be presenting their projects today. This particular presentation session of the Artisan Student Presentation Workshop from 12:30 to 2 o'clock, this is what the session we are in, is being streamed live to the national audience. And all of the other NSF centers for the Accelerating Research Translation Program are invited to attend. This will also be recorded, and it will be posted on the Center for Translational Research website. For that particular website, it's very easy. If you Google NJIT CTR, you are going to get the first top hit, which is the NJIT Center for Translational Research. Okay, any question? Okay, so it's my great pleasure to introduce our board. This board has been very, very supportive and enthusiastic about the undergraduate participation into the research and innovation program, and have donated a lot of their time, but more importantly, funds. And our chair and the board has recently completed a $300,000 matching campaign, which basically brought $600,000. And this is not the first time they have done that. This is like the 3rd time they have done this matching campaign. So I'm very, very grateful for their support and the leadership and the vision to educate the next generation of leaders. So I'll start from here. Manish, just introduce yourself, and maybe I would request to turn around.
Okay. Hi guys, I think you can hear me. Manish Patel.
We have some people on the online. Can we have the mic? Okay, the hand mic. Yeah, it would be bringing in, just hold on a second, because we have people online. All right.
Hi everyone, it's Manish Patel. Thanks, Atam, for the intro. I've been part of this program in its various forms for about 14 years now, and enjoy every year of it as it has grown from a handful of students to as many as, how many did we see over the summer? I think nearly 200, was it? Yeah. So the programs under Atam's leadership have grown tremendously, which of course means more people know about NJIT, and that's the goal, to help this school grow, continue building on the great reputation. So looking forward to all the presentations today, and also congratulations to anyone that's being awarded.
Thanks, Manish. Hi, I'm Peggy McHale. I've been involved with the program just about the same amount of time as Manish, in all the different variations that URI has been when it started out as IDS, and then with 8 students, and has grown to almost 200 in the last year. So excited to be here, excited to hear the presentations. I look forward to congratulating the awardees today, and I look forward to hearing all the presentations this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Peg. Hello, I'm Brian Kieran. I'm an alum of NCE, not NJIT, NCE. NJIT didn't exist at the time. And I'm former executive vice president and chief scientist for a small telecommunications company that changed the world by inventing these things, which is used by everybody in the world now. I mean, they sell over $1.5 billion a year. And we made a lot of money in the process. I now chair this group, this august group up here. And the whole purpose, and I also give a pretty good amount of funding to this program because I'm a strong believer in experiential learning. I am convinced you as a student will learn more in an afternoon trying to make a project work than you'll learn in a semester worth of lectures. Now, I get in a lot of trouble for saying that, but too bad. I'm used to trouble. So anyway, the main thing is, and I want to draw a distinction between research and innovation. Research is the discovery of how things work, how the world works. Innovation is making something that didn't exist before, an idea that takes what you learned in how the world works and using it to do something. And innovation requires, now you can innovate within research, but innovation is different than research. One is the pursuit of knowledge, the other is the pursuit of creating something. And that's the difference between engineering and science as well. And I hope all of you keep that in mind as you careers continue on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Al Matos, fellow engineer, several times over, I think, by this time. Spent most of my career in energy and technology, a product of Newark, New Jersey, where I grew up. And I've been part of this group since its inception, before even URI was named URI. It was named something else at the time, IDS. I've seen many of you students come and graduate, and I think this is an opportunity for all of the undergraduates that take this opportunity to learn how to present something, how to convince this panel, for example, to get to the next step, and which is really a proxy for life itself and doing things in a small amount of time, but getting a big impact. So I congratulate all of you for participating and coming up here and spending 5 minutes telling us all about what you're doing and making innovation, as you heard before.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Mark Long. I'm CSO at MTF Biologics. We are down in Edison. We are recovering, processing, and distributing human tissues. I've been on the board I'm a rookie, so just a few years. But it's always exciting to be here and to see how this program is growing. I think I heard it in the last meeting with talking about practical education, right? And that's very important because you know, as I look at new engineers on my team, new scientists, I mean, it's not just what you learn in the books, it's what you learn about doing. And so you have a very unique program here, and I'm glad to see so many of you here, and congratulate you for being part of that program. And remember that it's always more difficult to say something in 5 minutes than in 30 minutes. So condensing it is always the big challenge, but that's a great exercise because you never have a lot of time to make an impression, to make a difference, to make a connection. So this is a great exercise here. So congratulations for being here, and congratulations for all the work you're doing here.
Thank you, Mark. I'm Shashi Patel, working for PSCNG for several years. I've been board member for, I think, more than 10 years now.
Yes.
And I have been seeing very small crowd. Now we are seeing a very large crowd. And it's been pleasure to see all these innovations that you are bringing on the tables. And I would like to see all your great presentations. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And this is the time to start the student presentations. Dan, do we have Dr. Pradeep Phule online? No? Okay. All right. So let's get it started. And 2 ground rules. The first one is that you will have a timer on the monitor in front of you that will have a time clock for 5 minutes. And so each presenter, I think the first one has 2 presenters in the team. But each project has 5 minutes of the presentation, followed by about 3 minutes of the Q&A from our board. And also, the people who are online, they can also ask the question in the chat, and we will ask those questions on their behalf to the presenter. And the second thing is that this is the slide advancer. The big green button in the middle is to move the slide forward, and the red back arrow, the small one over here, is to move the slide backward. Okay? And this will be put onto the podium, and once you're finished, don't take it with you, leave it on the podium. So it's my pleasure to invite the first team of presenters, Lucas Holbrook and Mayuka Ajesh Ramashanath, Virtual Reality Ontology Project Manipulation Room. Thank you.
These are the ones, this is the list,
Okay.
and he came.
Is that there? Okay. Okay, you
You
can.
want the list or you want to call them from there?
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Lucas. This
I
is
can call
Mayuka,
them
and we're here to present about our virtual reality ontology object manipulation software, or VROOM. The button's not working.
So biomedical data is foundational to both medical practice and medical education. Doctors and students rely on biomedical ontologies to learn and recall medical terms, understand relationships between conditions, and make accurate clinical decisions. But as these ontologies grow, sometimes containing thousands of interconnected concepts, they become harder to navigate. Traditional drop-down based systems make interpretation slow and unintuitive, which can lead to misunderstandings that affect learning and ultimately patient diagnosis. There is a pressing need for tools that make these complex relationships clear, interactive, and easier to grasp for those who will eventually treat real patients.
VROOM reshapes how medical students, educators, and clinicians interact with complex biomedical information. Rather than scrolling through long, two-dimensional lists, users step inside the ontology and explore it spatially, seeing connections in a way that aligns with how humans naturally learn. Early studies already showed gains in comprehension and authorship abilities, especially for learners grappling with dense terminology. Our next phase focuses on enabling teams, students studying together, or clinicians reviewing concepts collaboratively, to work in shared real-time environments.
Every doctor begins as a student, and their ability to understand complex concepts affects their accuracy and confidence once they enter clinical practice. By enhancing how people learn and collaborate around medical information, VROOM supports safer healthcare, more effective education, and more intuitive data literacy. It meets the growing demand for immersive learning tools that help future and current medical professionals make sense of increasingly complex biomedical knowledge.
We interact with data constantly, from spreadsheets to long documents to diagrams. Their purpose is always the same: comprehension. Ontologies serve this purpose in medicine by showing how medical concepts relate to one another. Medical students rely on them to build foundational knowledge, but as these networks expand, they risk becoming overwhelming rather than clarifying.
Vroom addresses this challenge by allowing users to stand inside the ontology and manipulate concepts in a spatial environment. Previous studies have demonstrated that this immersive approach improves comprehension and authorship compared to traditional formats. They also revealed the limitations of single-user systems, since medical learning and clinical reasoning are often collaborative, making multi-user functionality essential for realistic application.
Traditional ontologies rely on two-dimensional drop-down menus that are difficult to navigate, especially when comparing related concepts or understanding unfamiliar terms. Earlier Vroom studies proved the potential of immersive environments, but the lack of multi-user interaction highlighted the need to support collaborative exploration, mirroring how medical teams learn, diagnose, and communicate in real life.
In medicine, misunderstanding a concept can affect diagnostic accuracy and patient outcomes. For students, weak comprehension early on can hinder future clinical decision-making. A 3D VR environment with interactive elements can make complex ontologies more intuitive, helping learners build stronger mental models and helping clinicians recall relationships quickly and accurately.
Our study includes a pre-survey, hands-on interaction with the ontology tasks, and a post-survey. We evaluate task completion times, analyze participants' verbal feedback, and compare pre- and post-survey scores to measure changes in comprehension and ease of use.
We expect to see faster task completion and higher post-survey scores. If these trends hold, they will suggest that multi-user features strengthen both performance and conceptual understanding, directly benefiting medical learners who must master large interconnected bodies of knowledge.
Throughout the project, we prepared Vroom for the final study by resolving several technical issues: an ineffective search bar, faulty glue stick connections, a broken return button on the trash can, cart storage bugs, and teleportation malfunctions. We also configured new VR headsets critical for multi-user functionality by labeling devices, troubleshooting hardware and executables, and resolving Unity version conflicts. When large ontologies cause performance issues, we developed a streamlined ontology with revised activity tailored for Vroom. To ensure smooth study execution, we finalized consent forms, standardized procedures, and created scheduling systems through Calendly.
Moving forward, we aim to simplify ontology creation, expand collaborative editing, and introduce gamified learning elements to make learning biomedical concepts more intuitive and engaging for medical students and more efficient for clinicians who rely on accurate recall.
Thank you for letting us present. We'd like to thank specifically the HSRI and URI programs, our two PIs, and the team of undergraduates that supported this work each day.
Thank you. Questions? You have those things in. Yeah. Okay. 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 Yes. Just
Okay,
speak.
I'm sorry, but it's not live either.
Let's see.
Testing. Got to pull it from the unit, not here.
Okay. Let's try this one. Okay.
One more time.
Yeah.
Okay, regrettably, I missed your first couple of slides, and I'm trying to, as I was going through it, how exactly would you define an ontology?
So there's various online databases just full of ontologies. One of the most common is BioPortal. It's full of thousands of medical and biomedical ontologies. And you can find them from anything like mammalian physiology all the way down to like different types of like myoblasts.
You're not answering my question. What is an ontology?
What is an ontology? It's a family tree-like network of concepts. So
Family tree.
everything has ancestors, everything has descendants or siblings, and you connect it just like a family tree.
Okay, so it's a family tree. Okay, that's the key word. Okay, thank you.
But it's basically a relationship presentation of the various physiological processes,
Right, okay.
that defines in there.
No, once you
Right.
said family tree,
Yeah.
it all clicked.
Okay. Any other? Yeah.
One other quick question. The family tree, all this information is stored in all different databases, and you pull it in? Is that through your Vroom
Yeah, so traditionally ontologies there are different types in different databases, but even one ontology can have thousands of concepts, which is really difficult to learn.
Right.
And traditional format is drop-down list format, which is also harder to visualize. So if you really want to understand the relationship between different concepts, if you see just a drop-down, it's harder to understand. Where Room, it lets you visualize it in a more 3D space. So that allows you to see connections faster.
So as the user, I'm wearing the headset, and I can then go pull from different sources in one interface. Okay, thank you. Very interesting. Yeah, no, very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, yeah, one question. Who is the user?
Well, the user can be anybody. Where we're marketing it towards is like medical students that are learning these complex terms, especially with like anatomy and physiology. Like learning all these terms and how they interact with each other is kind of the big conceptual problem with these courses. So it's marketed towards these medical students and even practitioners that need kind of like refreshers on different topics and how they connect with each other.
All right, thank you. That's your value proposition, right? All right, thank you. The next is, where did it go? The next is Asaf Ijar, Vision Transformer Adaptation for Photonic Hardware.
Just click next.
You put, they are putting your presentation. Yeah, it's there.
Oh, let me go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Start.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is OpenAI's newest data center that they are currently building in Abilene, Texas. When it's fully built, it'll have 1.2 gigawatts of power capacity. It'll consume almost 10 terawatts of energy every single year. Now, this right here is Newark, New Jersey. We know it. It's home to more than 300,000 people, right? The entire city uses about 2 terawatts of energy every single year. So for reference, that big data center is going to use the same amount of energy as 5 Newarks would in a given year, and also the equivalent of $1.3 billion. At the same time, this problem is only getting worse. We're only using more and more energy for these data centers. Projected growth in the US data center electricity use is going to reach over 450 terawatts of energy per year by 2035. That is the equivalent of 225 Newarks every year and over $58 billion. That is a lot of energy and a lot of money. So we need to figure something out of how we can make AI more green, more performant, and more accessible so that we have lower power AI, it costs less, it's still fast, and it doesn't take a massive data center. Well, we can look at some of the types of AI models that are being run in these data centers. This, for example, is a vision transformer. A vision transformer is the type of AI model that you use for any sort of visual processing. For example, I can take an image of, say, a dog, pass it through something like a vision transformer, and while I know it's a dog, the model will be able to tell me for any given image, is this an image of a dog or a cat? And the way it does this is through repeated blocks of complex mathematical operations, okay? However, these mathematical operations are not always structured in a way to give us full power efficiency. So here is a solution that is currently being developed. It's called photonics. Photonic accelerators take light-based computation instead of electricity-based computation. So essentially performing the complex mathematical operations that you need for an AI model in light instead of electricity. This is because light is way, way faster and way, way more power efficient. However, current photonic systems have big issues. The main issue is that they separate computations into two different categories. The first is easy computations. This is stuff like addition and multiplication, for example, 1 + 1 or 2 × 2. But then the harder computations, known as nonlinearities, are things like exponential functions or sinusoidal functions are still done in electricity. And this forces you to convert between the optical domain and the electronic domain. This conversion accounts for 50% of the total energy used in something like an optical transformer. This is a lot of wasted energy. So how do we solve this? Well, the easy approach would be to remove as many nonlinearities as we possibly could, right? However, this is a big issue. Nonlinearities are directly tied to the representability of a solution, of how good an AI model can learn a solution. So we get a big decrease in performance. However, we found that by using a specific technique known as knowledge distillation, we can take these complex solutions learned by models with nonlinearities and transfer them to smaller models without nonlinearities in a way that produces incredible results. Here you can see that when using distillation versus when not using distillation in these models that have don't have nonlinearities, you get about a 10% increase in performance with the possibility of getting all the way to the same performance as the teacher with nonlinearities. And at the same time, the amount of energy that you save here is immense. We are projected to save something like 75% of the total energy in an optical vision transformer. So what we have is a proof of concept for this type of vision transformer. And all that's needed is to test this on real photonic hardware and democratize the transformer forever to be able to use it for something like a low-power AI device like, ChatGPT on your phone. Now, this research experience has been incredibly impactful, where I was able to translate my knowledge of theoretical computer science to actual contributions in making AI environmentally responsible and socially beneficial. And I hope to continue this kind of research, this translational research, through graduate school and PhD. Yeah, thank you to my faculty advisor, Dr. Shaheen Angizi, Mehrdad, and Denise of the ACAD lab. Yes.
All right, thank you.
So that was as excellent as it was terrifying. But my question to you is those two charts you showed in the beginning of the projections
Yes.
of energy consumption. I know it's a long ways off. Yeah, if you go back, that would be great. The early one, the two bar charts.
Yes.
The question I have is, do we have any even estimate, ballpark estimate, of the amount of energy that would be saved using this technology? Or is that?
Yeah, I mean, so the idea would be that through using photonic accelerators, we could save a lot of energy, even right now, if all of the computation switched to photonic accelerators, even with the nonlinearities, we could save almost maybe 50% or more of the energy that is currently being used, because right now we're just using regular old GPUs. Now, partly this is for training. For training AI models is different than for inference. So for inference would be something like, you go on your phone, you type into ChatGPT, hey, how do I do this? And that gets sent to OpenAI's data center, and that's a small section of the data center. But specifically for that, we could save something like, over 50% of energy using photonic systems. And then again, if we were to implement this kind of system that I'm describing here, where we remove the nonlinearities from the photonic systems, we could save another 50% of the energy if we were to convert everything there. So,
Thanks. Well, I mean, for the
approximately.
future of this presentation, I
Yeah.
would say perhaps at the end, maybe
Yeah.
revisit these charts and maybe add. Again, I know it's all
Yeah, definitely.
estimated right now, but it'll help your case as people are like, what's the value in doing this, and
Yeah.
versus the investment.
Definitely.
Good. Thank you.
Quick question. Who else is trying to solve this problem right now?
Yeah, I mean, so there is a lot of research being done, especially in the more hardware-focused side of how can I make a faster photonic accelerator? How can I use light to do these computations better? But there's not too much research on trying to approach this from the software side, from the way we design our AI algorithms, and trying to do that smartly. Which is something that really does need to be done. There's a couple of works, my work is based off of one paper that I could find that is trying to deal with knowledge distillation as a way to kind of approximate these solutions learned by bigger AI models to smaller ones. But this is something that is being done in, actual theoretical software computer science all the time. So applying these kinds of software solutions to the hardware and kind of co-designing our hardware and software is very, very important, and definitely needs to have more people doing it because there's not that many.
Because it doesn't look sustainable. I mean, if this is the kind of energy you're going to
Exactly.
consume, it is a finite resource out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
So
and it's not,
it'll be a
people
race
say,
to the bottom.
exactly, right? And
Right.
people say, oh, to make AI better, we just need more and more power, more and more power.
Well, right,
But-
more and more data centers. Just keep building those data centers.
Exactly, but we need to think about, how we're actually building them, and, use our intelligence to make them more efficient, not just kind of expand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're singing to my heart, having been in the energy field for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my colleague that at the end is very happy to see this. Quick question on the accelerator.
Yes.
I've heard about them. I've seen them, not seen them, but I have learned about them. Are there any byproducts in using them that give some type of harmonics or distortion back out into the field where the electricity is coming from?
So, hardware side, the things with photonic accelerators, they are fairly finicky, right? Because we're dealing with light, and light can very easily be, there's a lot of interference,
Right.
especially when you're building these very, very small. So, when it comes to hardware innovations, there's a lot of people working on, how do we make these more stable so they're not, falling apart when I try to run something through it, or if you are shining a flashlight next to this kind of computer, it doesn't destroy your whole computation. But there's a lot of research in that, and at the same time, there's also software research going into, okay, how can I make my model that I'm running on this kind of photonic accelerator more robust to something like interference or limited bit precision, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it is something that people are thinking about, and it is something that happens where they are prone to being affected by the environment, but it's not something that can't be solved.
But I'm also looking at if this was to be widespread,
Yeah,
then, for example, about 15 years ago when solar really came alive, California had issues with all the solar being built with feedback from the solar systems back into the utility grid, and they had to curtail that. Is there any type of feedback that could be negative to the existing infrastructure?
yeah. Well, here I don't think there would be. I don't think there would be, purely because they would be using less energy than more. For something like solar panels, they're generating a bunch of energy, sending it into the grid. Here, if anything, it would be better for the electricity grid. We're not putting so much of a a load on it when we're using something like a photonic accelerator that uses less energy than anything else. So yeah.
Hi. First, I want to acknowledge your energy and passion.
Yes.
I think innovation doesn't happen if you don't have passion, so
Thank you.
thank you. Second is, how concerned are the AI companies, whatever we define that, in solving that problem? And with the subsequent comment or question, or how much funding can you get from them? How can you translate those ideas and that research into true innovation that they actually can use and fund, and you can actually turn that research into an actual solution for them?
Yeah, so when it comes to the AI companies looking into this, the majority of what they do is they kind of push it off to another person. So essentially, there's a big company right now that is working on these kinds of accelerators, except for training instead of inference. What I'm talking about is inference. But so the biggest power usage is, at the end of the day, training, because that's when you have to kind of get all of the data, force it through the model, run it a million times, that kind of thing. And there's not too many people worrying about inference. But as AI becomes more and more accessible to everyone, inference is going to become more of a problem. If every single person decides to use ChatGPT on a single day, in the entire world, and that everyone's accessing the server, billions of GPUs are being run, that's going to be a big issue. And so I think that they definitely know this is a problem for training. They don't know that it's as much of a problem for inference, just because we haven't seen it on the scale where it is that way. But it will get there, and that's when they're going to start noticing. That's when they're going to start looking into how can we make inference more efficient. Yeah.
All right. Last quick question.
Is this a software solution, or is it the hardware solutions at the data centers?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is our software solution being implemented in a hardware solution. So these hardware solutions exist. These photonic accelerators do exist, and they're something that people are studying and using to actually like work with AI. But what we're doing is trying to think about, okay, how can we design software that more effectively uses these? And then how can we, in turn, design the hardware to more effectively use the software? So it's both. It's this idea of hardware-software co-design, which is a very, very big kind of field on the up and coming, especially in research. Because to make sense and to make the most efficiency come out of our kind of like infrastructure and all that kind of stuff, we need to think about how they affect each other, not kind of how they're apart, I guess, if that makes sense.
All right,
Do you have
thank
the proof of concept here, or?
The proof of concept model we have, but we have not run it on an actual photonic accelerator, since those are fairly difficult to access at this current time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Great concept, but with the competition that is going on over there, the photonics, people have to watch out for quantum computing. There's a lot of investment going on in that particular field. If that becomes a reality, there will be a new transformation in the computation and AI. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Jasmine Madar, cardiac injury treatment using the noble gas xenon microbubbles.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Jasmine and my project is cardiac injury treatment using xenon gas microbubbles under Dr. Lee in the Department of Biomedical Engineering. So in the United States, every year approximately 1 million people undergo a myocardial infarction. This is also commonly known as a heart attack. And in this condition, basically what happens is that there's a blockage in the heart and there's a lack of oxygen. And from this lack of oxygen, there can be permanent heart damage that occurs, right? The oxygen is removed and then re-enters the heart. We also know that cardiovascular disease is the #1 leading cause of death globally. So we know that cardiac ischemic reperfusion injury, where oxygen is removed and then returned to the heart, this is one of the major causes of heart failure. But there are very limited treatments for this type of injury. There are current treatments that are like lifestyle changes or medications, but these treatments have many limitations in the way that they can prevent or repair any heart damage from occurring. There's very limited treatments that can actually regenerate heart tissue, and the drugs or medications that are used target symptoms, not the actual problem, or they don't help with recovery. So the goal of my project is to use xenon gas microbubbles to prevent any changes in the heart tissue from occurring. So what I'm trying to do is determine the dosage of these gas bubbles to prevent any apoptosis or cell death or functional changes from occurring in these heart muscle cells. So I'm going to determine the expression of genes in the cells after a hypoxic or low oxygen condition and the use of microbubbles. And by doing this, I'll determine the gene expression of genes related to hypoxia, metabolism, glucose, calcium handling, signaling, and muscle contraction, because these are all things that are important in heart cells. So for background, why xenon gas? Both xenon and argon gas have been tested in brain injury, and they've been proven effective as neuroprotective agents, which means that in stroke or cerebral ischemic injury or in traumatic brain injury, xenon and argon gas have been tested through inhalation and microbubbles and have been proven effective. So as a researcher, we think, can this be applied to the heart, right? Can it work in cardiac ischemic and reperfusion injury the same way that it worked in cerebral ischemic and reperfusion injury? And this has already been tested through inhalation, but why microbubbles? Because they're a targeted and controlled method of targeting the area of the heart that is damaged. So for my research approach, I start with stem cells and I culture them into cardiomyocytes, which are heart muscle cells. And from there, I create these tissues, small tissues, that are put in a hypoxia chamber and also have the microbubbles injected within them. Now, they're in this hypoxia chamber, which is only 1% oxygen, for about 24 hours. And this is long enough to simulate a heart attack. In a person could have heart damage within 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes of that heart attack. But in a hydrogel that I create, this small tissue, it needs a longer period of time to simulate those permanent damage that could occur. From there, after they're put in the hypoxia chamber, I'll remove the cells and perform gene analysis through a biological assay that's called qPCR. So in terms of my results so far, I've seen that 3 injections that are 50 microliters each of the microbubble seems to be the most optimal dosage. I've also identified a list of genes of interest that are related to all the things I mentioned earlier, like glucose, calcium handling. And the most significant ones are obviously the gene related to hypoxia, but also related to glucose and calcium. So for future work, I'm obviously going to focus on this genes of interest list and continue to work upon it. And I want to see whether these microbubbles actually have an effect or there's a lack of effect of these microbubbles on the cells. And I'm going to do this through using these tissues. And I want to prevent these genes from having any type of change of regulation or functional changes in the cells. And in the future, if I prove that this is effective, this can be used in complex tissue models or in animal models before it gets translated into clinical settings where it can be used as injections for patients. I would like to thank my PI, my mentor, Lei Hao, Dr. Raj. He's the PI that provides us with the microbubbles, and HSRI and URI for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Quick questions? Yeah.
Great presentation. You mentioned at the beginning about regeneration also. I mean, the research showed that you can prevent or minimize damage, right, after a heart attack, but is there any potential of that technologies to also regenerate or repair the damaged tissue?
Yeah, so the whole goal is to not really prevent, because you can't prevent the heart attack from occurring, right? But we want to prevent any damage from occurring after the heart attack is happening. So for example, in a person, once they have the heart attack, if this system is proven effective, the microbubble delivery system, if they're injected with the microbubble, we're hoping that that can prevent any damage from occurring after they have the heart attack. So not necessarily regenerate the tissue, but prevent any changes from actually occurring in the first place.
Yeah. Thank you. Just a suggestion, and you also want to look at inflammatory markers.
Yes.
Because that's either acute or chronic. So that's
right.
Everybody's concerned about that,
yeah.
As you know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, this type of research is being investigated for a whole lot of microvascular diseases, in there, and it is also the things what leads to sometime cerebrovascular deficiency, but also the cardiovascular. So.
One quick question, Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
Are you envisioning, if this was to prove out, that this would be used in like emergency rooms right as the incident is occurring, because you want to prevent damage? So is that the commercial application that you kind of envision for this, if it proves out?
Yeah, like eventually in the next decade, if it's tested, I'm doing wet lab research, right? So I'm gonna test it, and then eventually it can be tested in a more like animal system.
Right.
And then if that continues to show that it is effective, like it did in cerebral ischemic injury, right? Then I think that injections or intravenous, because it's a targeted approach, when they're having the heart attack or right after in the emergency room,
Right.
would be the best way. It's sort of like an EpiPen,
Right.
right? For a person that's going through anaphylaxis. So that's injected right away. So something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next one is Tyler Oberholzer, biochar water remediation. No, they went through all URI. Yeah, yeah, they were all Stevenson Award winners.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Oberholzer. I'm a sophomore here at NJIT, and my project was on biochar water remediation. Not everyone has access to clean water. In fact, 25% of people worldwide do not. Now, we usually attribute water insecurity to areas with less development that cannot filter these water supplies, but the truth is we are no exception. 45% of our tap water contains a toxic chemical called PFAS, which has been shown to cause cancer and heart disease in people. What's more is that we sit within a mile of one of the most polluted rivers in the United States, the Passaic, which continues to contaminate everything around it. This contamination is such an issue that studies done by the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey here at the United States have shown that 97% of US citizens have PFAS in their blood and 89% have glyphosate in their urine. Now, the reason for this widespread contamination is that water remediation is often difficult to employ. It's costly, it's unsustainable, and above all, it is slow and limited in what it can filter. Traditional filters, which use activated carbon, cannot remove PFAS from water, nor can it remove glyphosate. We need something, then, that is affordable, sustainable, and above all, efficient. Biochar might be what we're looking for. It is made through the pyrolysis of organic material or burning it without oxygen. It's half the cost of the aforementioned activated carbon and does not need chemical treatment, which means it can be made net negative in its emissions and energy. It also has a lot of functional groups which allow it to select for specific contaminants as well as absorb things. So it has a pore filling mechanism where it can basically have contaminants fill in its pore structure that comprises of its benzene groups. And it has hydrogen bonds that can form with more polarizable charged compounds like PFAS and glyphosate. Now, in my experiment, I did absorption tests and Langmuir cell isotherms with glyphosate. The first of which was to determine if biochar would select for glyphosate to determine if it really could absorb it. And then once this was confirmed, I did Langmuir cell isotherms to find out its exact absorption capacity. In the absorption test, I found that when I put biochar in a purely water solution, it would absorb around 2 times its mass on average. But then when I introduced glyphosate into the solution, it would absorb around 3 times its mass with higher variation. So I did Langmuir cell isotherms to find out its exact absorption capacity and found that it would absorb around 129 milligrams of glyphosate per gram of biochar used on average. While this seems like a low number, the actual amount of glyphosate in our water supplies is much more diluted than this, making this an effective remediation tool, and it can possibly be used in commercial filters. Just to be sure, I did Langmuir cell calculations, and they matched a study done by Joel et al. Earlier this year, confirming the accuracy of the results. Now, through this research, I am measuring the practicality of biochar as a water remediation tool, which can make safe drinking water affordable and accessible for everyone. And moving forward, I want to look for other contaminants like atrazine, metallochlor, the aforementioned PFAS, and heavy metals to determine its real effectiveness. And to do this, I'm going to design RSSCTs to determine a breakthrough time, which can make it applicable to a commercial setting or an environmental remediation assistance. And I will also design filtration columns and prototypes for commercial development in the future so that this technology can be available to everyone. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and here are some people I would like to acknowledge for their assistance on my project.
Very good. Questions?
Good presentation. Is it something that can be patented? I mean, the composition process?
So, yes. So the biochar itself, biochar can be made with any organic material as aforementioned. So this could be plant, human, animal waste. Some things like sewage can be wood. So if you have a specific recipe for a biochar, let's say you do oak that you want to treat with something, some sealant, so that it doesn't, leak into water supplies or anything, you can patent your recipe used for that. You can also patent the filter design that you have, kind of like how Brita uses activated carbon. You could patent your own that uses biochar and have it sell for less.
Maybe that's a question for you, Atam. Are we Are we patenting this research? This idea?
We have to follow up with faculty advisor, Dr. Panak. I see two names over there, Dr. Venkatesan, Arjun Venkatesan. The PFA Solve he's the founding scientific director of that. So we just awarded $100,000 to PFA Solve. And also the Stu Abraham, that's our CTR board member. No, actually not yet, not yet the board member. He is my, another board that I will describe in a minute is from Langen. So just to let you know, your advisor, some of those people here already know, I'm in the process of establishing a New Jersey PFAS Partnership Innovation Consortium with 5 universities and about 55 companies and utilities companies. Stu is going to be on the board of directors of that consortium.
I was going to ask if he was familiar with what's been
Yeah, yeah. So my question to you is that, there are several approaches for the PFAS detection and the destruction and also remediation.
Yeah.
How do you compare with the other approach in your category is called bioreactors?
Yeah, I've heard of bioreactors that can separate it. There's also some preliminary research on using ultrasound for it. The ideas with these technologies is they're much more applicable to a field reactor setting, like a treatment plant for government or maybe for an environmental contractor can use these services. The idea with this is it can be used for those things, but the main idea for it is maybe to make it commercial and have it available to individual people so they don't have to rely so much on these these areas to be developed near them for clean water. We can have a filter that can go to someone's, let's say Brita makes it much more affordable, maybe can remove things like PFAS and glyphosate that the current commercial model cannot.
Yeah. So one piece of advice, when you make problems, this high societal impact and economic impact, and you are creating this innovation presentation to engage the stakeholders for further investment, you have to have a slide of competitive advantage. So you have listed some of those. I'm happy to see the LCMS, but you have a largest group of the faculty working in this particular area for water decontamination at NJIT than Princeton or Rutgers. So Hao Chen is in LCMS, Jay Megoda is working on the ultrasound along with Wen Jiang. And then bioreactors is Dr. Mengyan Lee. So your advisor would know that. So I would, I would advise that if you are serious about pursuing this, you got to get together with your advisor and the other groups to see how you could establish a competitive advantage of what you are doing. And going back to Mark's comment that if this thing is beyond the feasibility or even at that particular point, and if it is innovative, new approach, then you must file a patent. And we always encourage the student to be on the patent. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next one is Arina Chaudhary, assessing toxicity of benzyl paraben mouse ovarian polycis.
Hi everyone, my name is Arina Chowdhury, and for my project I assessed toxicity of benzylparaben in mouse ovarian follicles as a part of Dr. Warner's EDC lab. Now, before I get into my research, I'd like to ask you a question. How many products do you think you've used today contain a chemical that is making you susceptible to disease? Of course, we can only hope that the answer is 0, but really, have you ever considered what makes up your cosmetics, medications, and even a packaged snack? The widespread incorporation of industrial chemicals has enabled the large-scale production of plastics, packaging, and personal care products all while keeping consumer costs low. However, this so-called economic benefit primarily favors manufacturers, often at the expense of public health. This cheap and fast production includes the usage of endocrine-disrupting chemicals, or EDCs for short, substances that are highly toxic to the reproductive system. Now, the economic impact of EDC exposure is significant. Managing health-related effects often requires frequent doctor's visits, testing, and specialized treatments, like IVF, used to treat infertility, which can cost over $64,000 per cycle. These expenses place a heavy burden on individuals and households and limit resources for other everyday needs. At the national level, these costs add up, diverting funds from things like innovation and infrastructure to health burdens that could be reduced through better chemical regulation. In this way, EDCs are paradoxical. Chemicals designed to better efficiency and lower costs end up creating substantial economic and health burdens. Now, as I mentioned, every day we use or consume products like lotions, shampoos, preserved snacks, and even medications, many of which contain parabens, a group of preservatives and antimicrobial agents suspected to disrupt our hormones. In fact, studies show that up to 93% of cosmetics contain at least one type of paraben, making exposure extremely common. One paraben of concern is benzoparaben, or BZP. It is already banned in the European Union due to its reproductive toxicity and has been detected in human urine, blood, placental tissue, and follicular fluid, meaning it can reach reproductive organs directly. However, research on BZP's specific effects is still very limited. Now, this matters not only for its economic consequences, but because of its biological impact as well. EDCs, like BZP, can interfere with the ovary, the female reproductive organ. Within the ovary are follicles, small, fluid-filled sacs that hold the egg cell and secrete hormones. Now, females are born with a finite number of ovarian follicles, so any damage, especially from EDCs, can lead to infertility, early menopause, and/or hormone-related diseases and cancers. Yet, as I mentioned, more research is needed to understand how BZP can affect the ovary. Thus, the goal of my project was to determine whether BZP can disrupt gene expression in mouse ovarian follicles. We hypothesized that exposure would lead to a decrease in hormone-related gene activity and increased cell death known as apoptosis. We exposed cultured mouse ovarian follicles to different doses of BZP in vitro over a 96-hour period. We used a dosage of 0.1 micrograms per milliliter to mimic real human internal concentration. Afterwards, we extracted RNA and used quantitative polymerase chain reaction, qPCR, to analyze genes related to cell growth and apoptosis. As for our results, we saw that at 100 micrograms per milliliter of BZP, the highest dosage, all the follicles were dead. This is likely due to cytotoxicity, meaning the chemical was toxic enough to kill all the cells. In fact, we were unable to conduct any qPCR on these samples simply because there were no surviving follicles left to extract RNA from. As for the lower doses, though, we are currently performing statistical analysis to conclude for any significant change in gene expression. To conclude, my project is innovative in both its approach and focus. Using isolated ovarian follicles as a controlled system allowed us to examine the cellular and genetic effects of benzoparaben. By integrating toxicology and molecular biology, our project connects observed effects to underlying mechanisms. Overall, this work is important as it helps fill a critical gap in understanding how benzoparaben can affect the reproductive system. Our potential findings could guide the development of safer products and lead to better chemical regulations as well. Through this experience, I've gained a personal, deeper understanding of how environmental chemistry, toxicology, and reproductive biology intersect, and how fundamental research like this can translate into shaping policy and protecting fertility. In the future, our lab will continue to analyze parabens, but this time understand how chemical structure could allude to possible endocrine disruption. I would love to thank Dr. Warner, the EDC lab, and the URI program for this opportunity. Thank you.
Questions?
Quick question. I would imagine the EU then had done some kind of analysis. Was it similar to this to ban this toxin in their area of the world? So did you take a look at that when you designed this?
Can you repeat that one more time? Like if the chemical we're designing.
Well, the EU banned it, right?
Oh,
And
yes, yes, yes.
So they must have done research to come up with that conclusion that this
Right.
is toxic to humans. Did you take a look at what they did to kind of design what you wanted to do? How did you
Right.
come to this?
So the EU mainly banned it because, parabens are a class of suspected EDCs, and a bunch of other members in that class, such as methylparaben, propylparaben, ethylparaben, these are all different chemicals that have a different functional group. And those research on that has shown that it can cause endocrine disruption. So I believe the EU took just preventative measures to limit the amount of parabens in general. Okay. But within the United States, not enough research has been done on benzylparaben, so that's why we're doing preliminary research to get to that point.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, did the EU ban parabens as a class, or did they ban specific ones?
I believe the main specific ones have been as the ones that I mentioned. And yes, I would say as a class, they've banned it.
How do the doses that you use in your mice experiment correlate to what's present in commercial products?
So according to the Food and Drug Administration, around 0.1 to roughly about 10 micrograms per milliliter is how much of endocrine disrupting chemicals we come into contact with through the various ways of exposure with common consumer products. And also around 0.1 to 1 micrograms per milliliter is what's actually found within tissues and concentrations in the body. So we based our study based on the Food and Drug Administration and previous research as well.
Okay. And do you do some type of calibration those are levels in humans, and since you're testing in mice, are you doing some type of calibration or some type of titration so that it's not exactly the same dose, but it may be smaller because it's smaller animal?
Well, our model is pretty genetically similar to humans, so we're keeping everything pretty much relevant so that it's also a representative example of us. So our mice models are pretty relevant to humans.
So I just wanted to put a note over there that these research, though you can see that not directly related to a product for the translation, but it is extremely important for the translation in the manner that these kind of studies and the databases are essential to develop policies and the regulatory compliance. Because we often forget about that, and once we forget about that or do not pay enough attention, the society pays a very heavy price. This happened with lead, this happened with asbestos, and this has happened with forever chemicals because there is not sufficient policies and the regulatory compliance, and we let the problem grew exponentially until it came to the level where everybody is panicking, like PFAS in water, soil, or in air, and consumable products. So I just wanted to see that this type of the research forms the databases and the evidence that is utilized by the FDA and the other government policies and the regulatory compliance purposes. So maybe you should make that particular point as a value proposition and potential impact, why this research is important. Okay? All right, thank you so much. All right, so this is the time for a celebration in the next 6-7 minutes. And I would like my chair of the URI board and also the TITA Executive Advisory Board to join me, Brian Kiernan. Brian is also the fellow of the National Academy of Inventors. He is a very well-known inventor, and he has a large portfolio of the inventions. He didn't say that today, but I just wanted to embarrass him by saying, hundreds of the technologies that you are using, this guy is responsible, for better or worse. You can blame him.
Personally, I hate cell phones.
Okay, so every student that is admitted into the two networks that I talked about, one is the National Academy of Inventors chapter at NJIT for the Student Inventor and Innovator Club, will receive this particular certificate. Everyone is named on this particular certificate and signed. But this is the certificate that you will pick up from the sign-up desk from Iris Pantoja. And this is the second certificate. This is for your induction into the national network of Accelerating Research Translation Integrated Student Ambassador Network, Artisan. And this has the seal or the logo for the NSF Art program. This is a tremendous value to be put on your resume. So congratulations, and I would like to ask these students that I'm going to call to come and receive this particular certificate, and then the second certificate you will, get it from Iris. And then at the end, we would like to have a group photo with the board advisors and these students over here. So please join me, Lucas Holbrook.
Lucas?
He was here, he presented, right? Yeah, okay. Probably had the class or something. Mayuka, you there? Well, let's come. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's do it over here. So make the NJIT back in there. Yeah. So.
Don't worry, we'll get out there eventually.
Yeah, the group photo will get there.
Congratulations.
Right. Thank you.
If you want, I can hold Lucas's for him.
Oh, you want to hold and call the name?
No,
Oh, Lucas.
I can just collect it for him.
Yeah, that's okay. Your picture is taken. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Asaf Jar. Congratulations. Okay. Jasmine Madar.
Jasmine, congratulations. Thank you.
Okay. Tyler. Congratulations. Yeah. Arena? Congratulations. Ali Salma.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Is Joey? as Joey, right? Z, the font. Okay, Sophia Jacob. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Natalia Mora. Yeah. Congratulations. Go ahead, get this. Thank you. Constantina. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congrats.
Is this the same one as the one last semester?
This is the new cohort. Yeah. Miriam Nasir. Congratulations. Thank you. Carolyn Warana. All right, thank you. All of you who received the certificate, come forward. We can have a group photo. We can stand up and let the student stand. Huh? No, that one is duplicate.
Okay.
Yeah. You can, all the student can stand over here, and we would do this, right? Okay.
I think we need to.
Whoever is taking the picture, some of you can come up also.
Put the board behind him and let them around.
Yeah, let me see that, how this is gonna go.
Board on either side of us.
Yeah,
Over here?
okay. Yep. Yeah,
Oh, you got one more
yeah,
student.
there you go.
One more student.
Yeah, come on, we'll give you the certificate there.
Everyone will give it to you.
Yeah.
They may have to move that in a little bit. Oh, they'll get it. And you laugh.
Okay, why don't you smile, okay? 1, 2, 3. 2 more. Keep that smile going. Good.
All right. Thank you and congratulations. You just joined? Who just joined? Oh, okay. Come on, and we'll give you the individual picture again. Yeah. Yeah, come on here. And with Brian.
You gotta get your individual shot.
Yeah, so, okay.
Oh, wow.
All right,
so much.
thank you. Okay, we are 2 minutes late, but let's take 5 minutes break. Can we?
5-minute break?
Yeah, I mean the leg break and also this adjustment. Yeah. It is 3 minutes presentation, right?
3 minutes.
3 minutes,
2 minute
2 minutes
Q&A.
Q&A.